This is Football Daft with Stephen Purden,
midfield dynamo and average actor,
Chris Toll,
target man, suspicious character,
and
with the top end of Stevenson, Grado!
Right, troops. This is a part of the show where we give a big, massive shout out to our main sponsor. It is G4 Claims. Nicole couldn't make it, so it's up to me. I know I'm not as good looking.
And you're every bit as good looking, Stevie.
Grado, you need to be quicker there, mate. Cheers, Toll. Thanks for that, mate.
You're not a man munter. That's for certain.
No, I'm not a man munter. I'm a man munter. But Nicole can't make it. But troops, everybody listening, remember, if you've been in a road traffic accident and you're not at fault, G4 Claims can make it easy for you. They can provide you with the complete accident management support you require. They'll recover the costs from the at-fault party, sort you right out with a like-for-like vehicle replacement, and they'll also organise your vehicle to be repaired at one of their approved body shops and returned to you. Should your vehicle be deemed a write-off, they will recover the pre-accident value for your car and write you a big, fat cheque for it. And best of all, it won't cost you a penny as they charge the at-fault insurance direct.
Stevie,
G4
I need to ask you. Can Neil Lennon phone G4 Claims? Because he's been involved in a few fucking car crashes this year, hasn't he?
Mate, do you know what? I think it's a good place for him to go. That's a good place because they could. And do you know what? He might need to phone them back because G4 Claims don't cold call.
They don't cold call.
They don't.
Right,
Did they collect your data?
They don't buy data, and once they've processed your claim, your insurance will remain unscathed. So Neil could go into a winner here. And the best thing is, Nicole and the team over there don't take on your case if they don't think they can help. So if you know that Neil Lennon has been in a road traffic accident, or know somebody that has no, I'm saying if he has been, right, get on to G4 Claims on 01698 767 172. That's 01698 767 172. Get them at notatfaultclaim.com or find them on social media at G4 Claims Limited. G4 Claims,
Not
at fault claims. Made
easy.
Easy.
Let's welcome to Football Daft a man who is a player who was a no-nonsense centre-half with over 400 appearances for Hearts. As a manager, he took charge of Cowdenbeath, Hearts twice, Leicester, Raith Rovers, Dundee United, and of course, Scotland. It's Craig Levein. Craig, how you doing, my man?
Very well, thank you.
Do you know what? I must admit, been doing this for about a year and a half now. I don't think I've been more excited for an interview than an interview with you. And we've just done a wee bit for the Patreon there, where we ask you 10 questions. You can see that on the Patreon. And do you know what? I'm watching you on the screen, Craig. And see, when I saw you laughing, man, it gave me a nice wee... Did you feel this, boys? A nice wee feeling seeing Craig laughing and having a joke. It's brilliant because we don't always get to see that side of you. And we're telling you to let off your steam. Listen, you're with your pals today, Craig, right? We're going to have a wee bit of carry on, a wee bit of laugh. It's just let everything out, all your steam. I have to say that you're one of my favourite trollers in football. Do you know what I mean by that? You know what I mean? I was watching a clip this morning of you when I'm bringing this up already, right? But I've been laughing at it all morning, and it was after the natural order carry on, and it cuts to you, and the journalists are asking about it, and you go, "What is it you say?" You go, "That's a good laugh at it." There's a good laugh in it. Then it cuts to Lennon going, "I didn't find it funny. I've been watching that all morning, so I've been buzzing to talk to you, but we'll maybe get to that unless you want to say something about that. Then
We'll get there.
Right, we'll get there. First of all, we want to talk. It's the day after Diego Maradona sadly passed away. We need to ask you about Maradona. You made your Scotland debut against Argentina in 1990. I don't think he played.
No, he didn't play in that game. He must have been going to be playing and shit himself or something.
Did you ever have any encounters with Maradona over the years? Did you ever bump into him?
I didn't. No, didn't. I didn't. I wasn't fortunate enough to. I thought he was going to play in that game. There was rumoured that he was going to play in the game that I played, but.
Yeah, by the way, you must have been shiting yourself.
I mean, the wonderful players at that time. You know, that was my debut actually for Scotland. And we won, which I thought was brilliant. Stuart McKimmie, I think it was, that scored the winning goal. Yeah, so, but I mean, at that time, I think it'd been rumoured that he was, the next sort of greatest kid to come out of that part of the world. But unfortunately, didn't play in that match. But I mean, I watched a documentary about him recently. It was fantastic. Really
It's
enjoyed
brilliant, isn't it? It's great. It's great.
Really enjoyed it. And it's funny how some of these extremely talented people their lives are so chaotic off the field, And Gascoigne as well, who was just an unbelievably talented player, but sometimes not the full shilling,
Aye.
Speaking of great sporting documentaries, right?
Yeah.
The Hearts documentary, I've loved it, man. Superb. Aye. Don't get me wrong, the last episode there on Monday, I've got to admit, I felt heartfelt sorry for Stendhal, the way that kind of ended for that guy, but I suppose that happens in football. But did you manage to watch all 3 episodes, Craig?
I've got the 3 of them backed up to watch them. I'm going to get myself a nice bottle of wine and sit down and watch all 3 together.
Aye.
I can't believe you've not saw it yet.
No, it's on.
You want your Douglas? What have you been up to?
Well, it's on tonight, and I do that thing for the BBC tonight. So I just, what would you call it? You like to say taped it.
Aye, taped it. Get it all Sky Plus.
Aye. So I've done that. So I'm going to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I mean, some people have been sort of contacted me about it, and when they started to do it, I mean, it's quite bizarre. They started filming, then I got the bullet, and so I never really spoke to anybody from the programme, sort of on camera anyway. But I liked the people who were doing it, and it actually wasn't really meant to be the sort of Sunderland documentary or Leeds documentary. It wasn't meant to be like that. It was just more about having a look behind the scenes. But I think everybody, because of what happened, with the COVID and also me leaving, Daniel coming in, he left. Austin was in charge for a while. There was all that stuff going on. I think everybody was wanting to see what happened and what situations arose. But it wasn't meant to be like that. It was just meant to be more of a behind the scenes thing, and not so much just about the football.
Aye. Would you have been comfortable with cameras like following you about? Because obviously,
not really.
Not
really. No. I mean, I did my best to get sacked, so I wouldn't have to do it.
That's brilliant. Because it felt as if when I was watching it, because you're obviously saying that wasn't their intention to film like that, but I was watching it, I'm going, if BBC went, oh, this is going to get dramatic here, this is going to get, Hearts aren't playing well, they're at the bottom of the league, let's get in about this and then film the carnage, do you know what I mean? But it was never like that, no?
No, there was none of that.
Right.
But since you've left Hearts, Craig, what have you been doing? What have you been up to? Apart from I've seen you at the BBC and stuff and doing some things there, but what else have you been doing?
Yeah, I've been doing bits and pieces of that, but mainly just following all the rules and try to behave myself.
Aye.
So it's getting a bit monotonous now, to be honest. But, hopefully it'll all be done soon.
I hope so.
Grado's got a great catchphrase. It's something I've always wanted to ask you, right? But this is legitimately something I've always wanted to ask you. What was said between you and Graham Hogg?
Well, before or afterwards or during?
What caused it? What caused it?
Nothing really. Hoggy and I got on really well and still do. And it had been, if I remember correctly, it was such a long time ago, but I remember correctly, it was a pre-season match, and
Raith Rovers,
it was against Raith, and Tommy McLean had come in as the manager. I think it was Joe Jordan before him, if I remember rightly. I'm not 100% sure, but Tommy had come in. Pre-season had been poor. We hadn't been playing very well, and we were terrible in that match against Raith Rovers. And I was playing, if I remember, I was playing the centre of the three. Hoggy was playing on the left, and 2 or 3 times he'd let his man run across without, and it was a man-to-man marking system. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. But so I shouted at him a couple of times about staying with his man, and then I had to go across and give a corner away tackling his man, and I said to him, "But usual, for fuck's sake, do your job right." And he took a swing at me, and I had reacted before I'd even thought about it, and and luckily enough he missed, but unfortunately I managed to catch him, and I got seriously got a 14-game ban.
That's mental. 14.
Honestly, got a 14-game ban. And
could have been worse. You could have been Duncan Ferguson and ended up in the jail.
That's true, man.
That's true. I remember that.
But was it a matter of just like kissing and making up the next day? Was it one of the ones like?
I mean, we were actually unfortunate because what had happened was Wraith Rovers were filming it must have been for
a documentary in the BBC.
So they were filming it, and somebody for the Wraith Rovers had sold it to one of the news outlets, and that's what caused the problem. It was on the telly. It was shown in the evening news, So, and then of course because of that, then I got hauled up before the SFA. If it had just been the referee's report, I think I might have just got 1 or 2 games and that would have been it. But the fact it was on telly, they felt like they had to do something about it. So
if you type it into YouTube, it's like Shireen Anjanani. We have acquired shocking footage for a game at Wraith Rovers yesterday. Shocking footage. So it must have been like on Scotland Today that night or whatever, because it was like
I remember it. I remember
top of the other stuff, man. Aye.
And that's why I've always wanted to ask you that question. There we go.
Not one of my fondest memories, unfortunately.
No, sorry for bringing that up there.
I'll get to fuck. That's not my fault.
Craig, if you apologise about Chris Toll, sorry, mate.
By the way, it's no one that I don't like used to anymore.
No. On a wee bit on a kind of lighter note, 1986, Hearts and Dundee. I don't really know the story because I do know the story, I've read about it. I was born in 88, Craig. But tell us the story about that season. Hearts were 10 minutes away from winning the league title, and it was a game that you unfortunately missed out because of injury. Or I've heard that it's because we were arguing this before we went on air. Somebody told me it was because you had the shits. Bob said it was because there was like a viral.
Was there no like a thing that wiped out some of the players or something, Craig?
It had sickness and diarrhea. During the night before the match.
You shouldn't have went to Celtic Park for your dinner.
So I woke up in the morning. I felt, I'd been sitting in the toilet and I felt terrible, and I'd phoned to let the manager, Alec McDonald, know, and he said, "Look, just forget it." Little did I know they'd fuck it up, though, eh? For one game. One game. You said one job.
Listen, one game doesn't win the league, all right? The best team win the league.
Oh. So, was it, did you...
Was that when St Mirren lay down? Was that St Mirren lay down?
Was it in goal difference, wasn't it? Goal difference?
I think it was,
aye.
It was goal difference.
Aye, Celtic won 5-0 at Love.
No, you won 4-0.
5-0, mate.
Was it 5-0? It was 4-0.
5-0, mate.
It was 5,
sorry,
mate.
Oh, sorry,
By the way, Stephen, don't ever fucking correct me about Celtic again, mate, all right?
All right, mate.
Here, Craig, you know what I want to ask you about, right? You said it on BBC, right? And I kicked off, right? But you were talking about this year, you would rather see Rangers win the league because you're fed up listening to this 10-0, Kieran, and you know that if Celtic win 10-0, we're going to have to put up with it for years. Do you still stand by that?
No, I'm fed up with the two of them, eh? Honestly, that's all people think football is in Scotland.
I know, where you go.
And the press play up to it all the time, eh? And I mean, the whole stuff last season, my Hearts getting relegated was a nonsense, absolute nonsense. And part of it was to do with Celtic getting the title so that they could, try and break this record of 9 in a row. So I just can't be bothered with it. That for a while, David Murray ran Scottish football, and Rangers were calling all the shots and we're getting all the good publicity. And now I think Celtic are doing exactly the same. And they call the shots with all the big decisions in Scotland, and I think it's really unfair. And so I can't be bothered with the nonsense, you know. Can't be bothered.
So tell me this one then: if Neil Lennon loses his job tomorrow and Celtic offer you it, do you take it?
If Neil Lennon loses his job, I'd be bitterly disappointed. I think he's done more than enough to deserve the opportunity to stay in charge. I mean, you
can see how they're playing now, and that's why you're saying you want Lennon to stay.
Yeah, so I mean, I like Lennon. He's a good lad, and he knows more than most what's required at Celtic. So there's a long way to go yet.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, though, Craig?
You never answered my question there. Would you take a job?
I doubt very much whether they get offered it.
Come on, it's a hypothetical. Come on, all right, fair play. We'll leave it at that.
Have you, Craig, in your time away from Hearts now, have you applied for any jobs, or have you been approached for any jobs that you've just thought it's not been right for you?
Yeah, I've had a couple of foreign opportunities to go to foreign clubs.
Mm-hmm.
There was a situation where I nearly took a job in Canada recently. But I really don't know what's around the corner, what I want to do, So I'll just sit tight for the moment. I'm enjoying doing the radio stuff. That's been a good laugh. So I quite like that. And I'll just wait and see what comes up.
You know what you see listening to you on the radio? It's like we were saying earlier on, it's like a different person than we've seen on the sidelines of the pitch and stuff like that. You're a lot more laid back and you come across really well as well. I think the boys will agree with me there. What do you think?
100%.
That's why we were delighted to get you on the show today. Absolutely. Do you think there has been a change over the years with you, Craig, or have you always been the same, do you feel? Because in the last couple of years, as I said, you've totally entertained me and plenty of other folk with your post-match interviews and press conferences. I think you're money. I love watching your interviews. And has that been a kind of change in yourself over the years, or you always had that and I've just missed it?
I think when I was younger, I was more guarded, and I love having a laugh. It's one of the best things. And I love having a carry on. In football, when you get brought up in football, there's nothing but wind-ups. That's what happens, and the banter's brilliant. So I've always enjoyed a laugh and a carry on. But I think when you're the manager of a club, and particularly if things aren't going well, it's quite difficult to be jovial about it. So and you're representing the club at every opportunity that you're on the telly or on the radio, and you have to be very careful about what you say. I think the older you get, you feel more comfortable doing media, and then sometimes it just gets boring. So I'll throw a couple of things in just to try and liven it up.
I think it's the older you get, the more honest you get and all.
Craig, when you're talking about the kind of the jovial stuff and having the banter at club management, how different was that when you were the Scotland manager, from international level to club level? What did you prefer?
Well, the club management's much. I would say it's much easier. It's not. It's a hell of a lot harder, but it's a proper job.
Aye.
It's a day job rather than.
Absolutely. And I really struggled with the time in between the games, what to do. And I was down in England watching games and going to training grounds and stuff like that. But I just found it. I just found it weird. You got the players together sometimes for 2 weeks, sometimes for a week, and then 3 months before you get anything else. And of course, in that 3 months, you're working at all the things that you're going to do next time the players come back, what system you're going to play, what your team's going to be. And invariably, when the players did come back, firstly, you couldn't do an awful lot of training because they just played for the clubs. And secondly, half a dozen of the ones that you were going to play were injured. So it was a hell of a frustrating time.
It must have been hard as well when you forgot to call up any strikers that time.
They were all playing terribly at that moment.
What do you think of the recent events then, the Steve Clark stuff? Did you watch that?
Brilliant.
The qualifier, brilliant.
brilliant. I'm a big fan of Stevie's. He's very practical, and when he got the job, I was really pleased. It is frustrating. One of the reasons I took the job, the Scotland job, was basically it was getting to the stage that the next manager who got Scotland to a major tournament was going to be, a hero, really, because nobody had managed to do it for ages before me, and afterwards there'd been a number of people who'd tried as well, but we had all got to the stage where we looked like we might have a chance of getting qualification, but it didn't happen. And it was brilliant for Stevie and for the country, for everybody, to get a chance to go back to a major tournament. I mean, I was involved in 1990, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. And, for a whole generation of players to have really missed that opportunity, some brilliant players missed that opportunity to play in a World Cup or in the Euros. It was a real shame.
Have you got any kind of sort of great memories for the World Cup? Any stories for when you were there?
So leave out Costa Rica.
We had. I don't know if you remember that World Cup, but it was a kind of bizarre situation. We played in the first game against Costa Rica and got beat. Then I made my sort of World Cup debut in the Sweden game. And then, of course, we played Brazil. I had an injury for the sort of last half of the season. I'd just come back from 3 years out of my knee injuries. And I played in an international match against Argentina. It must have been, I don't know if it was December 89 or January 90. And then I managed to get into the squad for the tournament in the summer. And obviously it was an unbelievable tournament, but with a crazy situation where we lost to Costa Rica, we beat Sweden, we lost to Brazil, but we actually still had a chance of qualifying. I can't remember the exact details of it. We had to wait on another game before we could have still qualified if one result later that night had gone our way. And I think we'd gone out. I don't think we were supposed to. Me and Big Dave McPherson had gone for a couple of beers just to
settle your nerves.
And just to settle the nerves. And we were sitting in the bar. Craig Brown came in. Sandy Roxburgh was the manager, and so you're in trouble, boys. You're supposed to be at a meeting. Obviously, nobody had told us about the meeting, and he gave me a bit of dressing down in the boozer. But he then stayed and had a drink with us, so it was all right.
Italian.
Back to club football, Craig. Have you been keeping tabs on Hearts and the Championship? How have they been doing?
Yeah. I'm still really friendly with Robbie, and speak to Anna occasionally. I haven't spoken for a wee while this time, but I speak to her occasionally, and quite a lot of the people still keep in touch. So, I think there's a certainty to go back up. I just think what happened, this voting and all the rest of it in the summer there was just a nonsense, the whole thing.
Tell us how you feel about that. Come on. Come on.
I just think that there was a great opportunity for Scottish football to pull together and reorganise the leagues so that nobody was really punished, essentially, for the COVID situation. So I think Scotland football missed an opportunity.
It definitely was. It was murder during the summer, wasn't it? Every episode we come on, it was like, here we go again. It was just drama after drama and emails missing and quotes and stuff like that. It was horrible, wasn't it? It was a depressing time, wasn't it?
It was a good laugh, wasn't it?
Craig, once again, Craig, myself and Grado apologise for Chris Toll.
You set me up there, Grado. You set me up, my man.
It was like you're watching like the Bundesliga, you're watching the English Premiership getting finished, and then up here, it was farcical. And up here, obviously, you might be happy because Hearts might somehow beat Celtic in the final, but you're still finishing last season's Scottish Cup. It's a farce. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I mean, it's all about money, isn't it? You know, the whole thing's about money, and that's why the Scottish Cup continued. It was just everybody needs money, and unfortunately, that was overriding everything last season whenever they made their decisions on what they were going to do to finish the season, and there was a hell of a sort of strong will from one club in particular to finish the league in a certain way.
I 100%.
I agree.
100% agree.
100%, Craig, yeah.
I was saying the same myself, mate. I was saying the same.
Listen, I think it was brought to a democratic vote, and I think the teams voted the way they voted, and I think if you don't like that, get your nose in a fucking sling. All right, how do you like that then?
What about the Donald Trump-like vote tinkering that we got?
Oh, wait a minute, you're allegedly, Craig, allegedly. Just what we are saying, we don't want you going to jail for this interview, man, right?
That should have refused to go down and just get turning up at the Premier League grounds. That's what he should have done.
Outside with our bags. Come on.
That's brilliant.
So what, do you still keep in touch with you touched on it a minute there, you spoke to Budge and stuff. Do you still keep in touch, Craig?
I haven't spoken to her for a while this time. It's probably been a month or two, but she's a lovely woman. And people don't really understand what she's done for Hearts and how much of her time and money that she's invested in a situation where initially her plan was to buy the club out of administration and to sell it back to the supporters and get her I think it was £2 million she paid. I mean, the incredible thing is, when she came back into Hearts, the turnover was something like £4.5 million a year. She bought the club for £2 million out of administration, was in the process of selling it back to supporters on a monthly basis. And by the time, well, certainly when I left, the turnover was up at 13 million. Now, most people would buy a club for 2 million with a turnover of 4 or 5, and then they'd be looking for 6 or 7 for the club once its turnover got up to 13 or 14 million. But her view was she just wanted to do something for the club, you know. So
fair play.
He works in there 7 days a week. She's foot to the floor, doesn't take a penny. I mean, when she goes away on trips with Hearts, she puts her hand in her pocket and pays for her own hotels and all the rest of it. Most of the directors I've worked for in the past couldn't wait to get their credit cards out. And, the club credit card and pay for everything,
Oh, yes. A breath of fresh air. What I wanted to ask you about as well, and I feel like Piers Morgan, man, I'm asking these questions. I'm feeling in case you're like fucking all these controversial things, right? But
I think Craig was expecting a few questions when he came on the podcast, Grado. So
no, I know, but everyone I'm asking, they're all meaty. Like, I want to ask you about when he's interviewed for the Hearts job, he's interviewed a couple of players, you're the director of football, and then you went, fuck it, I'll do it. Like, how does it? Right, these are all fucking idiots, man. You know what I mean? What happened there?
Well, the first time when Robbie left, Ian Cathro was my idea. I'd worked with Ian at Dundee United and a little bit was stuff at Scotland as well, and he's a bright young coach, and I'd convinced the board to take a chance on him when Robbie left. That didn't work. I mean, there's no doubt in his coaching capabilities, just his life experience and, you know, being put in the hot seat. I don't think he was quite ready for it. But then when he went, then there was a round of interviews, and the board, and Anne in particular, wasn't happy with any of the sort of people that had been interviewed. And they asked, one of the board members asked me if I would take the job. And at first I said no. But then the thing dragged on, and eventually I went to Anne and I just said, look, I'll go back in and do it for the time being, see if I can get things back on track. You know, and I kind of wish I hadn't. I mean, the director of football stuff was quite onerous, never mind taking on the...
Never mind being the manager as well and director of football. That's a double dunter there, Craig, isn't it?
Well, how do you think Romanov felt? He was the owner, the director of football and the manager.
The goalie coach.
And now he's on the run.
Allegedly, Craig.
But is that something you like doing? Because you done that at Dundee United as well, wasn't it? That you had the two positions, the director of football and manager. Do you just love getting in about it, the extra stuff that's added and running the club? Is that your deal, or is it just you've been asked to do it?
Yeah, well, a lot of the time, I mean, I've got a huge interest in the development of younger players. I really take great enjoyment and pleasure from, seeing good young lads that you've had in academies. I mean, John Suter, the first time I coached John Suter, he was 12-year-old, So,
Aye.
and, there was loads of kids at Dundee United that have gone on to do really good things. Stuart Armstrong was there was Ryan Gold was there. There's loads of them. And at Hearts first time round, Craig Gordon, I gave him his debut. And he's gone on to, obviously, Christoph Berra, I gave him his debut. So there's those younger players. I take great delight. It's one of the pleasures of being a manager is that, working with young players at those ages, 12 to 16, and then eventually seeing the players progress to be good enough to play first team football. And then a lot of them go on and play for the international team. So, yes, it's good to get paid for doing the job, but I just think getting paid is not enough for me. I like to get something else out of the job, and paying close attention to what's happening in the academy is something I've always had a keen interest in.
It must be decent as well, but if you're the director of football and you're the manager, then at least you know that you're the one that's making the signings as well. I
mean, the thing about the director of football, there isn't a real sort of defined job description for it, because a lot of clubs do it in different ways. I mean, a lot of clubs are abroad. It's the director of football and the scouting department that sign all the players.
Aye.
And then they give them to the manager and say, here's the players that you've got to work with. In Scotland and England, but not so much England now, but it's kind of frowned upon, that the director of football should be involved in anything to do with picking the players. But I mean, even like Hibs, Celtic have got transfer committees, where, the people there make decisions based on, what the collective is rather than just the manager himself. So things are changing, and the director of football role isn't as clearly defined as people think. Sometimes you never hear of any director. A lot of the big clubs in England, they all have directors of football, but you never hear from these guys.
It was quite an alien thing up here. I remember when Rangers done it, and then obviously Ross Wilson's there now, but it was like it was alien to a lot of Scottish football supporters.
I think had Celtic not done it previously with Kenny Dalglish and John Barnes? Was that not that kind of setup?
Aye, done that. I think so. Aye.
Fucking hell! Remember we had Jock Brown.
That's right. Aye.
Did he run down with notes, Jock Brown? Did he ever do that? Tell us about that, Craig. Was that actually real? Because I don't know if that was ever cleared up that you ran down.
That was nonsense. Was
it?
Yeah, absolute nonsense. I mean, in all my time as the director of football with Robbie or Ian, I never got involved in telling them who they should sign or who they should play, ever. And even during matches, I never got involved at all. That wasn't my responsibility. And in fact, I was there as a sounding board for them if they wanted to come and ask me stuff. And my main thing was, once they'd made their mind up about which players they were wanting, my job was to go and get them. And get the deal over the line. So, I mean, Robbie's been on record numerous times saying exactly the same thing, and Ian said the same as well. So,
it's just
paper talk shite.
Aye, of course.
Well, it just caused a bit of grief, and it wasn't true, basically, So,
obviously, it was you that recommended Ian Cathro and stuff. Then, Craig, have you ever sat down with me and after it had a beer and go, what the fuck were you playing at there, Ian? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I had to step in for you there, mate. Come on.
You give me a redneck here, son.
I end up in a fucking documentary because of you.
No, I haven't had the chance to do that. He went down to... He's
on the run as well with Roman.
He's got a decent job now. He's been on the Premier League teams, isn't he?
Is it Wolves?
Wolves, aye.
He's at Wolves with Nuno, and I mean, he went to Rio Ave in Portugal with Nuno, and then he went across to Spain. Who was he with in Spain? But it was where Nuno was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then obviously he'd come back, went to Newcastle, then came to Hearts, and Nuno had gone to Wolves. So I mean, you know,
where does that connection come from?
He met Nuno on a SFA A licence course, I think it was.
Do you not think that with Ian Cathro, though, the players and the Scottish football mentality held him back? Do you not think he's a wee bit ahead of his time for Scottish football?
I do think he is on the coaching front. I really do. I don't see the thing is that in Scotland, you got to play the game with the media, you know, and I think that was something that I didn't think Ian took too seriously, you know, and he thought he could just sort of, you know, fob people off, and it wasn't the most important thing that he had to deal with. So he was never really engaging in as much as that was just my opinion, of course, but he's never really engaging as much as he needed to do to get them on side. And you know, the other thing is he was brilliant with the players, but I think the media stuff was a real problem for him.
Is that right? Is that a knack that you need to learn? Basically, how you're dealing with it, how much you tell them, how you tell them it. That must be quite a bit like playing chess with these folk and how to...
Yeah, well, it's why a lot of times you hear fairly bland interviews, because, you know, managers are, as I say, they represent the club and they're out there, they're the face of the club. So, you know, if they say a word out of place, it can cause problems behind the scenes within the club. So you tend to find that most of the interviews are absolutely terrible, boring.
Aye.
And it's got the stage now that the questions that are asked by the media are just the same crap week in and week out. So you never really...
You don't get a Walter Smith or a Jim McLean anymore, don't you? Not that just goes like that. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Don't get any of them anymore, man.
I remember when Mark Warburton was the manager up here for Rangers and Ronnie Dyer was the manager of Celtic. Mark Warburton said in an interview after he left Scotland, saying the press already had a preconceived thing that Ronnie Dyer was a baddie and Mark Warburton was a goodie. Mm-hmm. Then when Brendan Rodgers came in, Mark Warburton then became the panel villain and Brendan Rodgers was the goodie. Do you know what I mean? He says, so you're kind of wanting to hiding right away. Do you know what I mean?
But you have to understand as well that behind the scenes, there's a lot of work going on from those two clubs with the media.
Yep. Aye.
You know what I mean? So they're the people at the top of the tree are manipulating things.
Yeah. Tell me this, Craig. See what you say there about the media getting involved, right? I know, obviously, that you've not got a connection with Celtic or anything, right? But do you think that they're actively bringing out Ollie Neil Lennon's pals just now to take the heat off him?
What do you mean?
It's a conspiracy.
No, listen, shut up, you. Right, like over the last couple of weeks, you know what? Celtic haven't been playing very well right now. We're talking about the media.
Strap yourself in here, Craig. This is going to go a while.
No, it's not going to go.
I'm not getting this piss your way.
You know what? I'm not bother asking you, you bastard. Fucking hell, I need to put up with these two dicks and then I need to fucking, you know what I mean, take the hassle off you and all that stuff.
So Chris, does that answer your question?
I'll just fucking need to, innit?
Then he put me in with A2, whatever you do. The sooner the two old firm teams get invited down to play in that Billionaires League down in England, the better it'll be for everybody.
Oh, I think you're right there.
Oh, bro.
See, that's, well, I mean, it must be frustrating. Folk always talking about the old firm. Tell us about the time, the Edinburgh Derby. Is that just magical?
It depends if you win.
Aye.
I mean, it's a brilliant fixture. There's been loads of lucky enough to be involved in lots of matches, and there's been loads of brilliant stories, and there's been some heartache as well. Mm-hmm. But I just love the game. I love the fixture. I love the lead up to it. And I mean, it's afterwards it can be sore and it lasts for a few days, but you just need to get on with it. But it's a, I when people talk about derby matches and say the Old Firm's best derby in the world, the derby matches are all the same. You know, it's just there's more people at those games. So,
Aye.
you know, if you've got, I don't know, if you've got Brechin against Montrose or something, and an Angus Derby or whatever that is.
Talbot and Cumnock.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it doesn't mean any less to the punters. It means just as much as it does to the Celtic Rangers and the Hearts and Hibs punters. Just that there's more of them. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. Right. Derby matches are brilliant.
But see how when we spoke about at the start and the K-Room with you and Lennon about the natural order and stuff like that, and he's telling you it's going to come back to haunt you and stuff like that. Did you just laugh all that off? Was that just, did you just love being involved with all that carry-on? Did he take it too serious?
See, the thing is, for me, that I'm not going to say anything that's offensive. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a wind-up, and I'm just having a carry-on. And I know...
Of course.
And I'm not... I mean, I wouldn't stand there before a derby match and saying we're going to hammer Hibs 6-0 today. You know, I mean, it's just nonsense. Now, that does get people's backs up. But I think... You know, when these games are coming around, you already have an eye on the fixture because you've looked at the beginning of the season to see when you're playing each other, and
you let the grass grow and all.
I mean that.
That was funny. It was just over my knees, actually. I think it was that.
Fuck's sake, me and Toad, I get lost.
Couldn't they find my way at the stadium that night?
Yeah, that was funny.
What do you think of Hibs now then? Looking across the other team there.
Jack's doing a good job. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I mean, they haven't changed the personnel that much from last season, but you know they're going really well. I mean, I keep it. I'm not saying a favour of any good feelings for Hibs, but at the same time, I like to see Edinburgh teams doing well, particularly against the Old Firm. You know, so.
Aye.
As long as
it didn't win this season at Easter Road.
As long as it didn't win anything, Hibs, that's all right.
I think the boy up front, that be Kevin Nisbet, he's a good player.
Doing brilliantly, isn't he?
Aye, he looks good, man. He really looks good.
So, well, we move on to Craig. That's what we do every week. Is we do a week. You explain it, Bob. The quiz. You kind of better than me.
What we do every week, Craig, is we let Stephen explain everything. Right. So every week on Football Daft, we put our guests' football knowledge to the test in a 90-second quiz, Craig.
Stevie, tell me you told them about us.
Honestly,
no, because you can't tell them about it because then they won't come on. You know what I mean? But at the top of the leaderboard, we've got John Sutton and Chick Young. They're joint top with 15. We've got Mark Wilson and Keith Lasley tucked in behind with 14.
What's the lowest?
I'll get there. Good Dr. Kenny Duker and Kevin Harper are on 13. We've got other selected scores, including Barry Ferguson on 12, Charlie Adam on 10, Lee Miller on 6. But at the bottom of the table, the strongest man in Scottish football is Falkirk man David McCracken. He's at the bottom with 1. So what do you think, Craig?
I'm going to try and beat David.
Right. Right, so here we go. We'll get 90 seconds on the clock. Producer John Grado, do you want to ask a question?
I'll ask the questions, Craig, and you can't pass. You have to get an answer right.
Listen, I might get through 2 or 3 questions if I'm not allowed to pass.
Well, just say anything.
Just say something for the ones that you want to pass.
Right, we're ready, John. Ready, Craig? Right. Which club did Aidan McGeady leave Celtic for?
Good question. Middlesbrough.
Angus the Bull is a mascot of which Scottish club?
Angus the Bull. Aberdeen.
At what club do you have your best win percentage as manager?
At what club? Oh, good question. Is it Cowdenbeath?
Who is currently top of League One?
Cove.
Who is currently the manager of Greenock Morton?
That's Christ, what's his name? Davey. He was at Livingston, wasn't he? Was it Morton before? Hopkins.
What team ended Liverpool's unbeaten run at Anfield this week?
Aston Villa.
What's the most goals you've scored in one season?
4 or 5. One of those 2.
What junior team play at Beechwood Park?
No idea.
Who scored? Who scored Celtic's penalty against Hibs?
Celtic's penalty against Hibs, when was that?
Saturday, I would imagine.
Can you give me a year? What year was it?
Saturday there, 2020.
Oh, Celtic's penalty. Was it Cal McGregor?
Clay Davis from The Wire has revealed he supports which football team?
I've no idea. I don't even know who Clay Davis is or what The Wire is.
Time.
John, I think it's only me and you that watches The Wire, mate.
I think so. Right, we'll go through the wrong answers before giving you your score, Craig. Aidan McGeady left Celtic for Spartak Moscow.
Oh, of course he did. He went abroad, didn't he?
You had your best win percentage as manager at Hearts in your first spell, 43% win rate apparently.
Right.
The Mighty Bairns are top of League One at the moment.
But 0 so far.
No, this is just the wrong ones.
It's just the wrong ones, don't worry. Liverpool got beat off Atalanta last night in the Champions League.
Right.
Socky play at Beechwood Park. It was Edouard that scored Celtic's penalty against Hibs at the weekend there. And Clay Davis from The Wire has revealed this week he sports Denhousemuir. There you are. So, you managed to score 3.
Hey!
Brilliant.
You beat Crash.
Get right up, you Davy McCracken.
Craig, honestly, mate, you have been a tremendous guest. Thanks for giving up your time and coming
Listen,
on, mate.
I know we said last week Morris Ross, but that's now my favourite. I fucking love that. I love that. Did you enjoy yourself, Craig?
Good fun, lads, but that's my last time on, right?
What about the road show? You'll need to come and do the road show, but mate, you'll need to be a guest, you know what I mean, on stage and all that.
Right, okay.
Thanks a lot, Craig. I really appreciate it, mate.
Cheers, Craig. Thanks very much. All the
Cheers,
best, pal. At Football Daft, we want to help you with this brand new way to beat the bookies. It's called TradeMateSports.com. It's a new tool for sports traders that calculates the true odds of a sports event and signals when the bookies make mistakes so you can exploit them using value betting. In the global sports betting markets, there are a few market leaders that the rest of the market follows. TradeMate Sports have worked to identify these market leaders, which has enabled them to calculate the true odds in different sports markets. The true odds being the odds that most accurately reflects the actual probability of an outcome. Now, because bookies offer different odds on the same games, inefficiencies, easy for you to say, occur in sports betting markets, their algorithm compares the true odds to the odds of more than 100 bookmakers to look for deviations, then signals these deviations in real time, enabling you to exploit them. Here's Alex from TradeMate Sports to give you a few tips for this weekend. He's had winners all the way so far, so fingers crossed.
G'day Football Daft listeners, thank bloody God the international break is over and we're back into some Premier League and Scottish Premier League, all these things are back. Got some tips for you this week. We've got Newcastle versus Chelsea. In this one we're going for over 2.75 goals at odds of 1.95 or better, that would be good. And then we've got Tottenham versus Man City, big game in the EPL. Under 3 goals at 1.98. Try find prices of those or better, and that'll help you out with your long-term punting. And if you're looking to find lots of value bets, hundreds every weekend, make sure to head over to the TradeMate Sports website and start a free week trial. See you guys next week.
So get involved with TradeMateSports.com right now and support Football Daft by checking out the link in the episode bio or heading to our social media, Football Daft Pod on Twitter, or just the plain old Football Daft on Facebook. Let's get bookie bashing.
Audio Frontier.